Whenever you see the word master attached to something, this is not healthy. That's linear. Because master means up there, putting yourself above other people. That's duality. Linear is when you think that time only goes forward, and that the further you are, the better you are. So when you look at people behind you, the tendency is to think, I'm better than them. You see? You're separating yourself from others, and now you create this concept of me against them. So now you see everything as in two groups. The things that are like you, the things you like, and then the other group is everything else. The things you don't like, the things you think because they're not at the same level as you, that they're not as smart as you. So from that thinking, you develop something called paternalism. Paternal meaning fatherly, that you think that you're above others, that you know what's right for others. If they just do what you say, everything will be good. See? That's paternalism. Then that expands out to your race. You think that because of whatever race you are, you think that your race is the best race, that everything else is stupid. It's racism. Yeah? So racism comes from that. Then you start thinking your culture, and you say, okay, my culture is beautiful, and anything else is not. So you start judging other cultures. You look at other cultures' beliefs, and you say, okay, if them guys only did this a different way, it would be better. See? Now you're judging other cultures by your culture standards. That's ethnocentrism. And then the fourth thing you develop, my way is the only way. That's dogma. Religion results from dogma. That means all of this is created by humans. It's not a natural way. This is something we learn, which means it can be unlearned. That's all coming from nonlinear, and this creating this concept of duality. And from duality comes these four things: paternalism, ethnocentrism, racism, dogma. And then you start applying this to emotions, and you say, okay, only happiness is good and everything else is bad. Yeah? And so you're always separating everything into two groups. That's why they use the word dual, which is a Latin word. And from that comes the word duality. So you create everything, you see everything in your mind as having only two components. And guess what? When you think like that, you're creating good versus evil. But when you're thinking like that, you're not developed. Because the universe says there is always going to be at least three components to anything and any situation. In most cases, there's four. But it's always, always, always going to be at least three. The Lakota way is nonlinear. Yes, we do go forward. We're born and then we die. But in between, we live. But even when we die, we're not actually dying. We're being born in a different existence. So it's always birth. That's why the circle is sacred to us. It never ends. There's no death. It's always a birth. It's always a birth. So there's never an end. It's always a birth. Okay, now getting to this time thing, in the non-linear way, in the Lakota ancient belief, yes, some things go one direction, but while you're in that direction, you can also be in other places. You can look at your past and come to peace with the difficult part. As you come to peace with the difficult part of your past, you remember more of the nice things from your past, and that's medicine. That's healing power. And then you can look at it again and learn something new. Because as you're living a healthy life, as you're going forward living a healthy life, you comprehend more of reality. So it's a good idea to look in your past, something that happened several years ago. Look in there and you're going to see something new because you comprehend more now. So you can always learn something from your past. Then you bring that information to the present moment and continue. You can use that to help you and other people. That's how you bless other people. That's how you're a blessing. And another thing you can do is jump forward. You visualize what you would like to be in the future. Take some moments every day to do that. Visualize that. Do that in private. And then you come back to the present moment again. And what's happening when you do that is you're receiving something from the future, and it's going to help you receive inspiration to accomplish whatever it is that you have as a goal in your life. You accomplish that. This is how you're nonlinear.
When you look at Lakota Star Knowledge creation stories, this duality was created by a process of not developing emotionally. Let's say you're living in a society where you develop healthy in a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional way. But as soon as you take out the emotional aspect and you just focus on body, mind, and soul, then it's like you're a house. And taking out the emotional aspect is taking out one of those support beams. There's major beams in the house that everything is built around that so that you can have rooms upstairs and so forth. And so when you take one of those out, then part of the house is eventually going to collapse. And what we've done as humans is the same thing. That we took emotional development out of our lives and we collapsed. But we don't think we collapsed. That's the crazy part. We think we're okay. And so we're sitting in this house that part of it is caved in, but we're like, there's nothing wrong. Everything is in order. See? Can you see the emotional denial there? We think we're complete and we're not. Once we become this way, then we have children and we teach them to be the same way, and so they don't know that there's something missing. So they're all building houses with a missing support beam, and they don't realize it. So after several generations go by, their houses look funny, but they think it looks normal. That's what we've done as humans. Our ancestors had full development. But in time, somewhere along the way, someone decides that emotional development is not important and focuses on just the other three. And as a result, this dualistic thinking comes into the picture. And then maybe some people agree with him and they follow suit. Now, those people have children. Those children, they never even get a chance to learn that there's something missing. So they think the way their parents are, they think that's the way it's supposed to be. And so thousands of generations later, we have all these religions that are all dualistic. It's because there's a supporting being missing. Like I said earlier, byproducts of that are racism and paternalism and ethnocentrism and dogma. Because there's no emotional development, there's emotional insecurity, inferiority complexes, disorders, personality disorders, all kinds of stuff in which emotional development is not happening. And we think we're okay. Living this way, we think we're okay. And if anybody disagrees, we say, well, they're the enemy, so let's go destroy them. And come up with a religion to justify it and everything. That's all coming from duality. So what this show is about is to learn that, hey, there's a supporting being missing in our house, and we have to put one in there. You see what I mean? So it's about completing. So what happened is that our ancestors start out complete, and then in time, they think they can get along without a support beam. So they throw it out. So what they've really done is they've de-evolved. And because of that, they create all these things that just causes tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And that's world history. Kingdoms taking over other kingdoms and saying we got to be ready for them because we got to know their every move, so we have to know how they think, so we're 3 steps ahead of them. And so it's really tricky, though. What I'm trying to say is that we went from a complete house to a house missing a beam for thousands of years. Most of the Western world is living in houses that's missing a support beam that should be there. So you see, to destroy it is going to just cause more chaos, to just go around destroying all the houses. Instead, what we do is we put that beam back in there. So a dualistic house is an incomplete house. You see what I mean? It's incomplete thinking. So learning about duality is about completing it, to transform it into something that works, or something we can learn from. Because sometimes things are so dualistic that it's just beyond repair. And the best thing we can do is learn from it as much as we can, and then put that in our handbook of how not to be in that way. And that's where we have ikotomi stories come in our culture. That's what those are. Just because you know something, that does not automatically mean that you know how not to be that something. You have to check it out. You have to learn how not to be it. Okay, look at spices. This is a really good example here. Let's say you have the kind of pepper that you put on your food, and then you have salt, and then somebody says, well, see, it's black and white there. You got pepper on one side and the other side is white, so that's salt, but then what about sugar? Do you see what I mean? Just because you know one side is pepper doesn't mean that the other side is always going to be salt. You see what I mean? You have to check it out so you find out which one it is. And maybe there's other spices that look like pepper, so you got to check that out too. So it's taking the time to check things out, to get the understanding of how it functions. And then, like I said, sometimes it's so dualistic that the best thing to do is just learn from it and let it go. And that's still learning. You're gathering information from that experience. So some stuff you just can't do anything but let it go. Learn from it and then let it go. The world is a dualistic world. And the quicker that we learn that, the sooner we're able to work with it, to transform it into something. Because if we try to destroy it, then we become dualistic. That's why duality is important. It's not a bad thing. It's an incomplete thing. It's an incomplete house. It's a house missing a support beam. Just barely standing. But yet it thinks it's a mansion. Oh my. So that's why teepees had a center point and a meeting point. That's just some thought there. Something to think about. That's why I talk about that on this show quite a bit. You can use that example to branch out all kinds of ways. In competition, you use that same way of thinking. That, yes, it's good to win, but from losing you learn. And learning is a good thing. And winners, they're community thinking, so they say, I did this, so we will live, so we will eat, so we will have clothes, so we will have food and homes. He doesn't say, I did this because I'm the best. See, he doesn't say it in that way. So that's how it is in traditional thinking. It's a community thinking. Your body's this way too. Your knee just doesn't get up and say, you guys are nothing without me. So to prove it, I'm not going to work, and then you will die. Well, I don't think your knee's going to do that. Yeah? Do you see what I mean? It's all working together. Everything in your body's working together too. Your body's a community, and it's all working together. So, can you understand now that when we think in a dualistic way, that we can make ourselves physically sick? Because our body is conflicting with that. And it could become weak because of that. And diseases could happen to us. Physical diseases could happen to us because of that. Of thinking like that. You see what I mean? So listen to your body. Your body's telling you. It's trying to teach you to be a community thinker. And by living in that way, we can influence others in a healthy way. And that's how we honor the earth. That's how we honor ourselves and each other. That's what it's about.
To read more about Lakota Star Knowledge Spirituality, you can read my book called Whatchamacallit. You can see the book cover on the right side of this screen. This book contains the information to what I talk about on my Lakota Spirituality videos. To purchase this book, please click below where it says Show More. Clicking on that link will open up the description below. And there you will see a link called To Purchase My Books. As you will see, it's an eBay link. Click on that eBay link and there you will see the information to get this book. Lila Pila Mayelo. Thank you very much.